Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Every day is a good day. There is something to learn, care, and celebrate. Dear participants, welcome to our institution of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this wonderful afternoon. My loved audience, today I am your host for this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our institution of Global Professional Free International Webinar. Thank you again all for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon. And it's my humble request to you all that you stay with us till end. And meantime, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends. So let's together and learn together. Before we have successfully completed our 401 webinar, I think today's webinar is very helpful for our teacher as most of our participants teacher and the topic also related to our teacher. Today topic is STEM education training for teachers. Today we have the speaker from Philippines. Let's welcome our speaker to the screen. Hello sir.
Hello, sir.
Good
Good,
afternoon.
good, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day to everyone.
Thank you sir for joining with us. Sir, give a short description about yourself, then you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you, sir. By the way, everyone, I am Arnold Ryan New Mercado from the Philippines. I am a teacher 3 of Antipolo City Senior High School, a Microsoft Innovative Educator, and a National Certificate Passer of Computer Systems Servicing. Also, I am a Supreme Student Government Advisor of our school and a former school disaster risk reduction coordinator and a national drug education program coordinator of our school. Currently, I am a STEM teacher in the Philippines in Antipolo City. So, this is my topic for today, STEM education training for teachers. So, let me share my presentation material, sir.
Yes, sir, you can share your material.
Thank you so much. All right. Now it's all visible to all of us, my presentation material. So again, good day everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to share my knowledge on this topic, STEM education training for teachers. Specifically, it's all about design-based learning using digital collaborative tools. So before anything else, for a while, okay. So we are living in a digital age where students shuffle between learning apps and social and communication platforms constantly. We can now communicate with anyone, anywhere, anytime through the simple click of a button. And it's our job as teachers and educators to leverage or to upskill our learners in terms of our classrooms. Many schools are finding creative ways to incorporate blending learning in their curriculums. And as of now, we all know that during this pandemic, There are many innovations created by the different teachers and educators around the world. Due to our focus on blended learning and travel, it is imperative that we remain as paperless as possible. Technology can often make or break our experiences as we study in different countries around the world. So we must hit the ground running during ours seventh week or intensive countries visits. And depending on how they are integrated into our teaching toolkits, the tools that we are using for the blended learning that can help our learners in terms of their learner or learning experiences. Like you, in our school, we are tested. We are tested to implement those different kinds of tools, those digital collaboration process with our learners as seamless as possible. Some have worked incredibly, while others not so much. But we teachers are here to continue the teaching learning process. All right. So in this image, you can see a sample of digital collaborative tool. Actually, all humans are inherent designers. However, many of us don't know it. The reason is that most people fail to understand the meaning of the word design. So, a design is a plan or specification for the construction of an object or a system for the implementation of an activity or process, or the result of that plan or specification in the form of a prototype, product, or process. The verb is to design, express, and to process a developing knowledge. Some cases, the direct construction of an object without explicit prior plans, such as craft work, some engineering, coding, and graphic design, may also be considered to be a design activity. The design usually has to satisfy certain goals and constraints. It may take into account aesthetically, functional, economic, or socio-political considerations, and is expected to interact with a certain environment. What you see on my screen is a Padlet workspace. Of course, we think of an image that represents the word design, and you are free to interpret the word in any way you wish. All right, now let's proceed with the next slide. Here are our learning objectives for today's session. At the end of this program, you should be able to explain how design-based learning, or the DBL, is a composite of context-based learning, problem-based learning, and project-based learning. Summarize the design thinking process. Plan a similar design-based project soon, implemented in varying periods. And create a sample document that can be shared for collaborative annotation and add a comment to it. And of course, develop a design-based project plan using digital collaborative tools. There are some fresh perspectives are essential in design. The unexplored facets of the problem usually are the starting points of creating innovative solutions. Learning and innovation skills increasingly are being recognized as the skills that separate students who are prepared for that separate students for increasingly complex life and work environments in the 21st century, and those who are not. A focus on creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration are really essential to prepare our students or learners for the future. Think creatively. Use a wide range of idea creation techniques such as brainstorming. Create new and worthwhile ideas, both incremental and radical concepts. Elaborate, refine, analyze, and evaluate their own ideas in order to improve and maximize creative efforts. They also need to work creatively with others, develop, implement, and communicate new ideas to others effectively. Be open and responsive to new and diverse perspectives, and also incorporate those group inputs and feedback into their work. Of course, they need to demonstrate originality and inventiveness in work and understand the real world limits to adapting new ideas. They can also view failure as an opportunity to learn. Understand that creativity and innovation is a long term process of small successes and frequent mistakes. They should also know how to implement innovations. Of course, innovation is making your own original idea. They need to act on creative ideas to make a tangible and useful contribution to their own field in which the innovation will happen. Critical thinking and problem solving are really important. It should be in various types of reasoning, like inductive, deductive, as appropriate to their situations. Use system thinking. Analyze how the parts of a whole interact with each other to produce overall outcomes in complex systems. They also need to learn how to make judgments and decisions, effectively analyzing and evaluating evidences, arguments, claims, and beliefs. Analyze and evaluate major alternative points of view, synthesizing and make connections between information and arguments, interpret information, and draw conclusions based on the best analysis, and reflect critically on learning experiences and processes. And we educators must teach our learners how to solve problems. Different kinds of non-familiar problems that they may encounter in conventional innovative ways. Identify and ask significant questions that can clarify various points of view and lead them to better solutions. Of course, in connection with this is their communication and collaboration. Communicate clearly, articulating their ideas, listening skills effectively, use communications for a range of purposes, like for example, to inform, to instruct, to motivate, and persuade. Communicate effectively in diverse environments. Collaborate with others. Demonstrate the ability to work effectively and respectfully with their teams, and assume shared responsibilities. So those are the important perspectives of a design in creating our lessons within our curriculum. Innovation, opportunities for the learners. Great designs are key to innovations. It is our responsibility to offer students the opportunity to make creative solutions to their problems, even in a digital environment. Now let's talk about the design-based learning. So let's have a review of pedagogies. Design-based learning is a composite of different pedagogies, the most notable of which is the context-based learning, problem-based learning, and the project-based learning. These three have overlapping aspects themselves. So let's dissect each topic. Let's talk about the engineering design in education. Actually, when the STEM education was introduced in the schools, like for example, here in our country, Philippines, way back 2013, and full implementation in the year 2016, learners who were once only learning scientific and mathematical concepts and applying them for practical purposes were also encouraged to build things. The integration of the engineering with the other three disciplines implies that the learners will have the opportunity to design solutions to their problems. Because of this, the academe or the department had to adopt reliable methods used by the engineers to design, to build, and to test. And that was when engineering design made its way to the field of education. Engineering design in education, or the engineering design program, or the EDP, is a step-by-step guide that engineers use to solve their problems. As we, teachers, implement those processes, students will discover scientific solutions and learn core contents along the way. Specifically, the design process or the engineering design process has 6 stages. We have the ask, identifying the problem, then ask questions to understand it better. We also have the stage of imagine, brainstorming about different ideas on how to solve the different problems. Plan, choose one idea and planning how to create the solution. And also, the fourth stage is the create, acquiring any necessary materials and create the solution. Fifth stage, test, see if the solution works by collecting and analyzing the data and evaluating strengths and weaknesses. The sixth stage, improving. Make adjustments to improve the solution, then test it again. This EDP or the Engineering Design Program is based on activities do not have to include building something. They can be as simple as figuring out the best place to grow a plant. Just as simple like that. The point of integrating EDP or the engineering design in education or program is not to teach students how to build things, but to develop their critical thinking skills so they learn how to solve problems on their own. Design-based learning is still a buzzword as of now, but it has been a popular method and practice of teaching since its conception because new ideas are continuously tossed around it. Let's talk about context-based learning or the CBL. CBL is referring to the use of real life and fictitious examples in teaching environments in order for our learners to learn through the actual practical experience with the subject rather than just its more theoretical parts. CBL or the context-based learning is a student-centered approach to teaching and learning, utilizing scenarios to replicate the social and political context of the students' working or potential working environment. CBL has influenced teaching and learning science in many countries over the past decades. CBL approach have been recommended and expanded in science education to make science more relevant to students by connecting science content with students' daily life. In order to implement CBL at school, we need several stakeholders for full implementation for this. We also have the PBL or the problem based learning. During the beginning of the STEM, children have been taught STEM related subjects for decades, from dissecting frogs to building makeshift volcanoes that spew baking soda lava. Students use engineering and math skills to build bridges out of toothpicks. So those are the activities that we already gave to our learners a decade before. The problem is, most of this learning happened as part of educational system that merely put students in a box with each subject taught as a standalone block of instruction and no clear connection to other areas of study. A new teaching and learning approach was needed for this. And that's problem-based learning enters. Learning or the PBL learning requires students to use critical thinking processes throughout the assigned project. Our learners will put concepts from cognitive learning as well as incorporating skills associated with behavioral learning. They also use concepts derived from constructivist learning, which are designed to foster learning using knowledge developed from previous life experiences and the application of those experiences to new concepts. Projects are often designed for short durations some in as little as one class. As educators, as teachers, it is incumbent upon to us challenge the students using diverse pedagogical strategies. One solution, according to Habron, is to develop a semester-long project that requires students to work through the project through a form of e-portfolio or electronic portfolio. This is an important pedagogical strategy designed to allow students to showcase their academic efforts over time. Students working in groups can build their electronic portfolio or e-portfolio based on the project requirements. Predetermined checkpoints are built in to allow the teacher to evaluate, or what we call rubric, in giving the grades for that output, and of course provide support to help overcome any obstacle or problems encountered during the different phase of the project. In project-based learning, students are usually grouped and are asked to work on creating a tangible output. Just like in PBL, the students should start exploring a problem. Learners are allowed to make their own plan, test, and evaluate their own output, and manage the tasks involved in order to complete the project. PBL or PJBL and design-based learning both require product design and creation. PBL does not necessarily require any product output. If a problem can be worked out even through the solution is purely conceptual, should suffice. Now, let's have a simple reflection. Um, in giving some projects, should be hearts on what is a problem, what is the need. Minds on what is a possible innovative solution. Then, the hands on how do you plan to design and build it. These are the questions that we should think before we give the task to our learners. Because if we can answer these questions, it will be easy for our learners to perform the said project, the said product, or the said output. Let's proceed with DBL again, the design-based learning, understanding DBL through its salient features. Actually, in STEM education, DBL or the design-based learning builds on the integration of the designing process of real-life engineers into the classroom applications to solve real-life problems. Design-based learning is a form of project-based learning in which students learn what they need to learn in just in time, trying to design something. Example, in my group, we build 6 to 8 week-long DBL units or design-based learning units for senior high school in math, in science, and technology classrooms. These units can use engineering design processes as a foundational structure for the units. And these structures can improve the design outcomes and provides an organization of the math or the science learning that happens inside the classroom. However, we need to add additional supports as an educator, as their teacher, into the process to maximize learning in the classroom setting. We are currently exploring a particular form of DBL called model eliciting activities, in which students are pushed to deliver a general model design specification rather than just a particular solution. These model eliciting activities surface students thinking of the instructor or the teacher and themselves, provide more authentic push for understanding of general relationships, and can help develop mathematics as their thinking tool. Design thinking, preparing young people for a future of complex challenges such as globalization, digitalization, or climate change requires high quality STEM education. Additionally, those skills such as creativity, problem solving, the ability to innovate, and critical thinking are increasingly important for openly embracing change and shaping the future. Our project, Design Thinking in STEM, has the aim at developing approaches for teaching disabilities in science and technology lessons. The design thinking method encourages students to address challenges with a sense of empathy, viewing a problem through the eyes of someone actually confronting it. Through interdisciplinary teamwork, ideas and approaches are turned into physical prototypes early in the process to be tested and evaluated. Later, I'll be discussing the prototypes. With design thinking STEM, we aim as teachers, we aim as educators to encourage innovation and creativity in young people for our learners. We want to support them in creating sustainable solutions for the complex challenges so they can shape their own future. Let's proceed with the design thinking models. So, what's the design based learning all about? What's the model inside of it? Look at this picture, look at this gallery. I have a simple picture of the model of the design based learning. We have the define, ideate, prototyping. Then, of course, we have a lot of models here from Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design, Nielsen Normal Group, IDEO Design, and the Google Design Sprint. These are just some of the models that can be used or integrate in our curriculum or for the implementation of our lesson in terms of implementing the science education. So how do they differ? They differ in the process flow, but it's just the same output that we want. You have a glimpse of this process, and accordingly, these are just 5 steps. However, you may wonder how these steps fit in a framework. If you try to search in the Google, you can see these models. Some with 5 steps, some have with 6 or more. But what really matters is the flow of the design-based learning. There will always be reason to justify how one model is no less valid than the others, no matter how the components are arranged and interpreted in those frameworks, for they are also dependent on context. As long as none of them is missing, the design thinking model should be fine. Here's an example of design thinking framework adapted from the Center for Integrated STEM Education Incorporated, or CISTAM, or system. Yan. First, we have the empathize. Another is to define. Number 3 is to generate. Number 4 is to distill. Number 5 is to create and test. And number 6 is to communicate. And it's just a cycle. Now, let me dissect, or let me explain each step or part of this framework. Let's start with empathize. Empathize is one of the elements of design thinking that makes the process very unique. It's the model above. There you are. It's the biggest of all-encompassing component. Empathy is the first step in design thinking because it is a skill that allows us, teachers, educators, and learners, to understand and share the same feelings that others feel. Through empathy, we are able to put ourselves in others people's shoes and connect with how they might be feeling about their problem, circumstances, or situation. Some questions to consider here in this space or stage is, what is the person feeling? Of course, we can also connect this question with what actions or words indicate this feeling. Another is, can you identify their feelings through words? What words would you use to describe their feelings? These are just some of the guided questions that students or learners can reflect on to identify the problem and how others are feeling about it. Without empathy, design thinking would simply be a traditional problem solving method, and the solution of which may not actually work. The inclusion of empathy is really important in the framework because that's the reason why design thinking is considered a human centered process. The ultimate goal of design thinking is not just to solve any problem, but one that is experienced by people in real life situations. You have to specify the people you are designing for when we create our lesson as teacher, as an educator. The next phase, we have the define. The the reason why some traditional problem solving processes are not effective is that the problems are stated vaguely. In design thinking, defining the problem is guided by the information you have gathered during the empathize stage. Of course, we cannot move on to the next stage, which is the define stage, without passing the empathize stage, which is really important. This step is to define the above feelings and identify the main problem to be solved. It's important that throughout this process, students use language that is identifiable, positive, meaningful, and actionable. Instead of focusing on the negative side of the problem and the lack of options, students should focus with language that is positive, empathetic, and will direct them toward solution based thinking. Defining the problem is part of the process of shaping a point of view, our own and others, about their problems. Therefore, this stage should inspire the group or the students or the learners or the entire class to find their solutions. Again, should be human centered. Another, broad enough for creative freedom. And another is narrow enough for manageability. A problem statement should not be extensive that is too difficult to recognize where one should begin. Let's proceed with the next phase, which is the generate or generating. Now that you have already have a problem statement that is anchored on the empathy, it is time to generate possible creative solutions. Innovation or the innovative ideas just spring to mind. They just happen to you when you have gained fresh perspective on things. In generating or ideating or the process of creating idea, this process is where ideas are generated. Students can learn empathy in this space where they teach them new and different ways to find solutions to a problem. There is no single right way for a great idea, but I can give some few strategies that you can encourage. Like for example, mind mapping. I know you are very familiar with this strategy, mind mapping. Another is brainstorming, sketch noting, body storming, inquiry. These processes help learners to see things from different perspectives. It also allows them to step outside of what they might think is the obvious solution and instead generate new ideas outside of their own group or team. Quantity over quality. By all means, just allow the outflow of ideas. In this part of the process, you should be more concerned about having a great number of possible solutions from the learners. And of course, the practicability and usefulness. Another stage or pace is again the generating pa rin. Generating is anchored on empathy. It's time to generate possible creative solutions. Avoid judgment. As an educator, we welcome unusual ideas. You should not focus much on how they appeal to you at the beginning. Some innovative things are built upon seemingly weird conceptions. When you critique an odd idea, rejection almost always follows. Perhaps only a small tweaking through a group discussions is needed to turn a strange idea into an ultimate solution. We're still on the generating phase. Use ideation techniques, facilitating generation of ideas. Choose appropriate ideation techniques from a multitude that is available. Examples will be discussed later in this presentation. Another stage is the distilling. Most certainly, after rounds of group discussions, you will realize that you would not be using all the ideas. It's time to filter or to distill, perform a series of screening. Which ones will you be carrying over in your search for the ultimate solution to the problem? So that's the question. Now let's proceed with the next phase, create and test. In this phase or in this stage, creative solution in all terms is exemptional idea that emerge after this deal. You are going to build a tangible version of that idea, your prototype. So when we say prototype, prototyping phase, students get to make and create the solution to the problem. Empathy is still here. It helps them to see that they're in the first step in a longer process. A prototype can be changed, altered, reevaluated, and recreated many times based on the needs of the learners. This process also helps our learners or students to recognize that failing is part of learning. And that is okay to fail. Failure, however, needs to be analyzed so that we learn and grow from our mistakes. You can ask this question to our learners. Why did we fail? What worked? What didn't work? How can we improve to help the user or the learners next time? Is this solution feasible? Is it manageable? Are these changes designed with the user in mind? Then, of course, at the end, they need to test. Testing is important in order to improve the design. During testing, empathy plays a key role in shaping the learner's experience. Focus on showing and not telling. This helps the learners to create their own experiences and also helps them to identify how to improve those experiences. The opportunity for empathizing is important at this stage because one is able to see the learner's experience and hear his or her thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Testing also helps them to shape their own point of view in relation to the teachers or educators' point of view. You have to remember that your design is more than aesthetics. Another is communicate. Once you have tested your prototype and you are convinced that your design is excellent, it's working, it's time to inform your community or your group mates, your teacher, or the other teachers on the field and sell your innovative idea. You communicate by presenting your work to the end users or to the learners and other possible stakeholders using at least three things. By practicing communication skills, learners or students will get better as at asking for help and expressing what they need, and over time they will develop the skills and confidence to tell you more clearly what they've learned in their class. In STEM fields, empathetic communication is a fundamental ingredient for success of our learners. Of course, in communicating, they create proposals which are highly textual and descriptive. This explains the context and how you went through the design thinking process. Of course, there's a poster, a highly visual with tables, graphs, and charts which can be made digitally on some websites. these are sketch or images of your prototype also included here. And of course the pitch. This is the speech that you will use to persuade the end users or other stakeholders that you have designed that actually works. Let's focus with design thinking strategies. So what are those design thinking strategies that may help us? Define problem finding. Of course, another is generate or the ideation and distill. Those are some design thinking strategies that may help the learners that we can also integrate in our lesson planning, in our teaching process. Another strategy is the problem finding strategy. Of course, it's part of what we are discussing as of now. Looking at a problem from a different perspective is it should be practiced for our learners. Problem solving provides a powerful context for teaching and learners, especially for STEM learners. And they can also apply this through skills, approaches, and ways of thinking that can be applied across disciplines. Problem solving is defined as a cognitive affective behavior method involving finding the right ways to cope with daily life problems. And it leads people to solutions for the problems. Problem solving is a crucial skill to affect any move in life, from essential to complex. Using the problem solving skill, it will assess our learners, our students, our pupils to solve abilities and the abilities of science processing. STEM project-based learning train learners or students to define the problem and analyze the solution using their knowledge in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I have here an example of a parable, the blind man and the elephant. So this parable is about a group of blind men who have chanced upon an elephant for the first time and conceptualize what the animal is like by touching it. They touch different parts of the elephant and believe their own truths based on their own perspective. So this is an example that we can incorporate the science, engineering, and mathematics lessons with across disciplines. The parable allows us to understand the importance of multiple perspective thinking. And it can be looked into three different ways: checking the different phases of those known facts, thinking beyond the known facts, and looking at the problem as part of another problem. We can apply those questions that can use as guide questions for our learners. Ideation strategy. We have here the scamper. Later on, I will elaborate what this scamper is. Let's proceed first with ideation. Ideation is the process where you generate ideas and solutions through sessions such as sketching, prototyping, brainstorming, brainwriting, worst possible idea, and a wealth of other ideation techniques. Ideation is also the third stage in the design thinking process. Although many people might have experienced a brainstorming session before for those groupings for our learners, it is not easy to facilitate a truly fruitful ideation session. Well, to teach some processes and guidelines which will help you facilitate and prepare for productive, effective, innovative, and fun ideation sessions. Ideation is often the most exciting stage in design thinking process or design thinking project because during ideation, the main aim is to generate a large quantity of ideas that the learners or the whole groups or the whole team of learners can then filter and cut down into the best, most practical, or most innovative ones in order to inspire new and better design solutions and products. Ideation is the mode of the design process in which they can concentrate, or they can generate new idea, going wide in terms of concepts and outcomes. Ideation provides both the fuel and also the source provides both the learners for building prototypes and getting innovative solutions into the hands of the learners. Ideation will help us educators, as teachers, as by means of asking the right questions and innovate with a strong focus on our learners, their needs and their insights. Also step beyond the obvious solutions and therefore increase the innovation potential of their solutions. We can also bring them together, together their perspectives and strengths of their team members or their learners, and uncover unexpected areas of innovation. We can also help them by creating volume and variety in their innovation options and get obvious solutions out of their heads and drive their team beyond the expectations. When you design a solution to a problem, you most likely have a design peg, an existing product that can modify and apply your creative ideas to. I have here some examples. Like, for example, we have the spork, a combination of spoon and a fork. These design pegs were combined to create a spork. Another is the AirPods, an appropriate design peg, a wired headset. The wire was removed and more technology was added to the design peg, giving birth to the innovative wireless earbuds. Scamper, how we can also try Scamper using some guide questions from innovations. We can also help them to manage and interact design foundation. Remember that innovations can be applied for products, services, and processes. By the way, the word scamper can be explained as just a simple acronym. S stands for substitute, C for combine, A for adopt, M for modify, it can be modify, magnify, maximize. P stands for put to another use. E stands for eliminate, and R for reverse, can be rearranged or reorder. Scamper, so it is Scamper is a acronym of different skills that we can provide to our learners. Scamper is a thinking technique, a technique that created to develop the different thinking. This technique provides a pleasant environment for creative thinking. Scamper is an acronym developed in the year 2000. Each letter expresses a specific thinking process. Again, let me show you, everyone. S, substitute. C, combine. Can be attack. A, modify, magnify, minify for M. P for put to another use. E, eliminate. And R, reverse or rearrange. Let's discuss each letter or acronym. S, substitute. We can use substitute or substitution by means of replacing part of an idea, of an object, or process with something else. At this stage, we can ask the following questions. What elements of this product or services can we substitute? What can I substitute so as to make an improvement? How can I substitute the place, the time, the materials, or the people? Can I substitute one part for another or change any parts? Can I replace someone involved? Or we can also simply ask this question also, what else is there instead? Other than that, what approaches or materials or components can you use or can I use? Let's go with letter C, combine. Combine is considering combining two or more components of the object or approach to create synergy and produce a new product. At this stage, you can ask these guide questions. How can we combine with these products or services? What ideas, materials, features, processes, people, products, or components can be combined? Can I combine or merge this or that with other subjects or sorry, with other objects? What can I combine so as to maximize the number of pieces? What can I combine in order to lower the cost of production? At this stage, we can also ask this: what material, idea, or object can I combine? Let's proceed with letter A, adapt. Adapting is thinking about what parts of the object or approach can be adapted. How can we change its nature in this way? At this stage, we can ask the following questions. What idea from elsewhere can we alter or adapt? Which part of the product could I change? Could I change the characteristics of a component? Can I seek can I seek inspiration in other products or processes, but in a different context? Which ideas could I adapt, copy, or borrow from other people's product? Or simply, how can I adapt to use as a solution? Who might I emulate, or what might I copy? Another is letter M, modify, magnify, minify. Thinking about altering the object or approach completely or partially unorthodox. At this stage, we can ask these guide questions. How can we greatly enlarge or greatly reduce any component? What can I magnify or make larger? How can I tone down or delete? Could I exaggerate or overstate buttons, color, size? Could I grow the target group? What can I add? What can I remove? What different shapes or components can I adapt? Letter P, put to another use. Thinking about how you might use the object or approach for another purpose. At this stage, we can use these guide questions. What completely different use can we have for our product? How would a child use it or our learners can use it? How about for older person? How would people with different disabilities can use it? Which other target group could be benefit from this output or this product? What other kind of user would need or want my product? It should be holistic. Then also we have letter E, eliminate. Eliminating, thinking about what might happen if you remove. What might happen if you remove parts of the product or the object or the output, and what you can do in this situation. At this stage, we can use these guide questions. What elements can be eliminated? Can I reduce time or components? What would happen if I remove a component or part of it? Can I reduce effort? Can I cut cost? What can I shrink, shorten, or lighten? Another is R, reverse or rearrange. In this space, thinking about what you can do if parts of the object or approach are reversed or the order is changed. At this stage, we can use those guide questions. How can we rearrange the product or reverse the process? How can I rearrange in some way? Can I interchange the components, the pattern, or the layout? Can I change the pace or the schedule? What would I do if the part of your problem, product or process work in reverse? Can I rearrange what in way such that this happens? These are the questions that can be used. Can the roles be reversed? How to implement Scamper in STEM activities? Using this activity in STEM activities will increase students' creative thinking skills. Scamper provides a pleasant environment for all ages to practice creative thinking in STEM activities. Besides, the main question for this technique provides a concrete system for flexible and fluent thinking. Therefore, Scamper na- uh, is an effective strategy or tool for learning. Distilling strategy. Distilling strategy or knowledge distillation usually we are filtering the ideas from our learners. We have a lot of models for this, and later I will show those models. Knowledge distillation refers to the idea of model compression by teaching a smaller network step by step exactly what to do using a bigger, already trained learners. The sublabels refer to the output feature maps by the bigger network after every convolution layers. Those smaller networks can be trained to learn the exact behavior on the bigger network by trying to replicate those outputs at every level. So let me show a simple attractiveness map. Attractiveness map, also called as opportunity matrix. The first thing that you need to do is to determine which among the four quadrants of your map you will plot each of your solutions. You gauge its idea in terms of potential, in innovation, and the challenge involved in creating it. So I have here a opportunity matrix, and here's the gold mine quadrants. So gold mine quadrant, which is the high potential, then the low challenge, or simply we call that as the strengths or the material independently and help them to apply the learning in a more facilitated learning. In those kind of learning provided engage the students for more and facilitated a more interactive classroom environment. The students can actually do the material and reducing exhaustion at the same time. Classroom interactions were more productive with this through pre-work. The blended format encouraged them to use the classroom time in meaningful activities. We can also include here the online quizzes, wherein those online quizzes help students identify those areas that they need to review questions, which gave them immediate feedback on the student answers or the learner's answers. It's very helpful for them. Submitting homework, viewing course materials, course objectives, and reading material online was convenient. Use of multimedia and external links was useful to understand the subject. Example, PowerPoint presentations, assignment for formative and summative assessments, and instructions for presenting. External links can be also used as a reference material, tutorials, and self-directed learning topics. And another, we have the pace of moonshot or the high potential, high challenge. It depends upon on the concretization, coordination, collaboration, and communication across the learners. The reason why it's not easy to do. Actually, this part is terms of poor internet connectivity and speed, which is a must when time-limited online assignments were given to our learners. But software and hardwares are expensive, especially for those Indian countries. The materials that can be used for online learning is very expensive. So certain configurations on the laptops and desktops have to be enabled to access those kind of learning. And also, we have the quick win, low potential, low challenge, reflecting on the opportunities. Online exercises provide flexibility in terms of timing, especially when it becomes difficult to accommodate certain class schedules. Students enjoy the flexibility with which they can do the work assigned. There is a uniform reach of the content to the students, and international students are appreciative of online assignments. It can help also them um, acquire new skills developed by the provided by the teacher or by the educator. Then of course the questionable, low potential, high challenge. Of course, internet shorthand, emoticons, and playful spellings are issues here in students' assignments. Dependency on computers for spellings, such for English language, are incorporated with this. chat sessions while multitasking, online, online proved to be a distraction. There was an interesting comment such as teacher jobs may be cut down into online modules. So we can use this as a guide for our learners. The stealing strategy. The stealing strategy, once you have identified the top solution using the opportunity matrix, you can now know more about your design by performing a SWOT analysis. You can also know the strength, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats for our learners. Design-based output, we have the input, process, output. It's time to build your own design based on the learning activity. But first, you have to know a few things about. Like for example, the different types of design thinking output, the design-based projects and the prototyping and the fidelity. Design-based outputs is a pedagogy in which the goal of designing an artifact contextualizes all curricular activities. Design is viewed as a vehicle through which scientific knowledge and a real world problem solving skills can be constructed. We have here the process flow, the input. The input here is the existing information on a potential real life problem. This is the designer's pre-existing understanding of the issue. Process, the design process, thinking process, the empathy, the define, generate, distill, prototype, prototyping, and test communicate. The output, a design thinking output can be a prototype of product, process, or a service. And another, when creative ideas are applied to these three types of output, we get product innovations, process innovations, and service innovations. By adapting the classic system approach, education can be modeled as an input, process, and output system. Input in the form of resources is entered into the system, and after a conversion processes, an output is achieved. This output may be in the form of quality of education, or a research findings. The process phase may be completed in the form of a cycle which consists of a plan, organize, control, and improve. At a higher level, this system can be regarded as a service type which provide mainly intangible outputs. Project-based design. So we have here the gold standard project-based learning, wherein the PBL or the project-based thinking based design is actually a part of DBL or design-based learning. Actually, the PBL is incorporated with 21st century skills, encouraging learners to engage in inquiry, explore real-world contexts, and share their learning lies at the heart of of PBL strategy. As an instructional framework, it allows we teachers, to achieve different goals while still meeting curriculum requirements. But as a teacher or educator, our main function is to guide our learners, problem solving, support their collaboration and critical thinking, provide voice and choice in how they demonstrated their learning, empower them to realize that their contributions to the community make a tangible difference. Combining this, design thinking and PBL, creating true experience, is really hard. Moving from projects to PBL can feel overwhelming. Design thinking provides another potential form for teachers scaffolding to help craft these experiences. What do your students consider important? Which topics spark their curiosity? How might they want to engage with this specific content? How might they choose to demonstrate their learning? So again, that's the content of project-based design thinking. Of course, we need to consider the time frame. When we give a project or an output to our learners. Time frame is an element really an element which is really important. In both students work on a project for an extended period. The duration depends on the difficulty of the project. Your course plan or lesson plan for a design thinking project that needs to be finished in a semester, you should be different from the one that needs to be accomplished in the entire academic year. Moreover, expectations from the students depending on the time frame should be adjusted. Again, let's consider the time frame for our learners. Planning projects. Again, you think of a project output base that you would give your students. The final output could be a product, a process, or a service. The duration is 1 month. Think carefully about the following. If it is 1 month, the problem statement, how might we question it? The expected output, the project details, considering that the project duration is 1 month, then the modification in the project duration becomes 1 semester or 1 academic year. Again, as a teacher, as an educator, for the learners, we can adjust the time duration for planning their projects. Design thinking in lessons and projects. Again, design thinking can be applied not only in projects but also in lessons. Actually, we can use the data as a guide. Our teachers can work collaboratively to define a project or to define a problem. Problems take the form of a question such as how might these problems or projects can help the flow of our teaching. Also, how might we create, example for the learners, how might we create machines based on historical models? Or even, how might we create a playground space for disabled students? From these thoughts, learners can brainstorm their solutions, design a prototype, and test their own product. The process really takes a linear approach. At any point in the process, learners may return to their different parts of the process to fine tune their work before eventually moving forward. And that's the role of the teacher. Design thinking is a mindset and approach to learning, collaborating, and problem solving. In practice, the design process is a structured framework for identifying challenges, gathering information, generating potential solutions, defining ideas, and testing solutions. Design thinking in lessons and project example, quick experience. Here's the example of lesson, quick experience of the design thinking process. It can be in a short-term project, like for example, adequate experience of the design thinking process. It can be also in a long-term project, deep experience of the design thinking process. It's up to us teachers or educators on how we can make some adjustments on the lessons and projects that we will give to our learners or students. Another, creation of a very simple prototype. For short-term projects, creation of a semi-detailed prototype. Or long-term project, creation of a very detailed prototype. Another, focus on prototype building. For short-term projects, focus on the process except for communicate. Then for long-term projects, involve communicate. Another, no opportunity to test the design. For short-term projects, opportunity to test the design. Then for long-term project, opportunity to test and improve the design. For project management, here's the question. Can we educators do project management? The answer is yes. Everyone can do project management. PM or project management skills are applicable not only for business, it also can be applied to education. Why would educators learn PM skills? PM skills are very marketable and make life easier in all sorts of areas. If you teach your students the PM skills or the project management skills, you will equip them with the essential 21st century skills they need to be success. So again, project is really important because it's a sequence of unique, complex, and connected activities having one goal, one purpose, and that must be completed by a specific time within a budget and according to specifications. In college and careers, the skill employers are seeking as of now the skill of project management. And as a teacher, as an educator, when we incorporate this, when we teach our learners with this, it will help them to be a successful person soon. Projects are goal oriented. There's something unique about every project. Projects have a duration. Projects requires coordination of interrelated activities. So again, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, and techniques to execute projects effectively and efficiently. And of course, they need to consider the scope. We should also consider the critical path of the learners in succession of the connected project tasks that will take the longest to complete. The critical path is the longest path to complete the project, and each critical path task has to be completed before the next can begin or dependencies. Then the risk management. This means that there is some uncertainty in systematically manage to increase the likelihood of meeting project objectives. And of course, develop an inquiry-based student research class or after-school program will help the intent of having students prepare to compete in a pre-college competition soon. Like for example, robotics. Another is some related careers for this, which is a project-based curriculum. Prototypes and fidelity. Again, prototype is the earliest observable expression of a design intent. A prototype is a working model that is used to test a design solution and is typically what is built or created during a student's design and build challenge. So again, prototype is a working model that can be used as tool to determine if their work is successful. In real life, prototypes help to determine the effectiveness of design solutions before the final product or system is produced. Prototyping is important because it requires students to use logical thinking skills as they create a design plan for their prototype. Provides opportunities for students to gain experience with the proper use of those tools, equipment, and materials. Provide opportunities for the students to learn to be flexible. Provide opportunities for students to develop fine motor skills, like for example, cutting, shaping, combining, and of course, offers requires group processes such as working cooperatively. Provide opportunities for them to self-access their work using criteria established by the teacher or the rubric. And for our and as for us educators, we work individual students during the building development of those design solutions and provides instruction in proper use of handling of tools, including those that enhance their ability to observe, such as the use of magnifying lenses, thermometers, and the like. Then they also have the chance to explain reasons behind required safety expectations. Behavior standards when working with equipment and tools should be explicit and consistent. Ensures tools and equipments as safe. Dull hand saws and scissors are dangerous, but with our guidance, we can make the flow of the prototyping safe for the children or for the learner. We can also encourage students to refer back to the design or to the criteria or to the requirement or the constraints when they test their designs. And encourage them to record what happens during testing. That's the most important thing or the most important part. This may be in the form of videos, written journals, charts, and the likes. Recording what happens is important, especially if the first attempt at a design solution is not successful. Prototyping allows you to test the usability, effectiveness, efficiency, and the other features of the design. Leaves an opportunity for failing quickly and cheaply so that less resources are invested on solutions that may not actually work. It also encourages end users, the learners, to experience the design and therefore give feedback about it. In this way, you can improve your output until you're ready to create the actual solution. Prototyping process, do not expect that you will be building just one prototype. Of course, it's a trial and error. The first prototype that you will build is not necessarily the closest representation of the end product that you have in the mind. So you may create another prototype, the only better. Since design thinking is a cycle, consider the process of prototyping process, an iteration within iteration. The prototyping process involves building, testing, reviewing, analyzing, and refining. Common methods and best practices for this are the storyboards, role playing. Actually, the sketches also and diagrams is the earliest form of prototyping that can be used. We can ask our learners to sketch or to illustrate their ideas and launch them into a real world soon. And another is the paper interfaces, like using the mobile apps, the websites, the web services, as well as the screen-based products for their prototypes. Paper interfaces are handy at the early stages of prototyping for digital products. Storyboards, as I mentioned earlier, telling stories, recording, it will help them to have a guide in doing their project, and comparison for prototype and the main product. It will also help them to imagine the complete user experience of the product and capture it's a series of images or sketches. We can also have the most popular, the Lego prototypes. If you're familiar with Lego, the Lego prototypes are very helpful for all learners to perform their their products or outputs. It helped them to have the versatility and the ability to spark imagination and what drives them to have the success in performing it. And the role playing, of course, the experiential prototyping is a method that allows them to design, explore scenarios within the system that they are targeting physically. They can also make the best use of role playing in capturing and expressing the user's emotional experience of using a product or service. Can prototyping be done at home? The answer is yes. Of course, we can use that. They can use that or perform that at home. Can prototyping be performed remotely? The answer is yes. Design fidelity. Of course, fidelity is the measure of how close the design they have made or they have performed in their mind from the prototype they are planning to make. The higher the fidelity of the prototype is, the closer the design to the final product. Art and design are integral to the STEM education, and it's important not to exclude them from the conversation. When we talk about STEM, we are of course referring to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But it's important not to forget the or remember the importance of art. Each element of STEM is largely logical. Art and design are what help the industries evolve beyond what is simply possible and add some much needed creativity to user experiences and STEM innovations. Let me give you some uh, criteria or some characteristics of low fidelity prototypes and high fidelity prototypes. In low fidelity prototypes, examples are sketch and paper prototypes. It's cheap to make, take less time to build. It shows few features of the actual end of product. Redesign is easy and user testing is limited. But in high fidelity prototypes, examples are digital and native prototypes. Expensive, takes much time to build, but it shows many features of the actual end product. Redesigning is difficult, necessitates more active user testing. Prototyping in a digital environment, of course, if in a prototype of digital simulation or demo of a product or service that enables you to test assumptions and virtually explore to a product before it's built. Digital prototyping can save your time and money by ensuring that product is effective. Digital prototyping gives conceptual design, engineering, manufacturing, and sales, and ability to virtually explore a complete product before it's built. So, digital prototyping to design, optimize, validate, and visualize their products digitally throughout the product and develop throughout the process. Testing, of course, this is an important phase. When they test their outputs, we allow them, the end users or the learners to experience their design and they gather information about their experience. After testing, they will know if they will go another round of design thinking. Testing may not be done if there is not enough time for that. The implication is that there is no chance for your learners or students to redesign. Remember, test prototyping is a trial and error. So therefore, they need to redesign. Below are some 8 things to consider when they test: the usability, the effectiveness, the efficiency, safety, the cost, reliability, aesthetics, and the impact. Now, let me give some 21st century skills and collaboration that we can integrate to our learners. Learner skills and their future. The basis of being a well-rounded learner is continuously changing. So, let me present some 21st century learners. Of course, this is a summarize by the applied educational systems. Below are some 3 set of skills that a 21st century learner should possess. We have the learning skills. Of course, it talks about creativity or thinking outside the box, critical thinking, finding solutions to the problems, collaborating or collaboration, working with others, and communication, talking to others. Literacy skills, of course, the information literacy, media literacy, and technology literacy. Those literacy skills, like for example, the information literacy, they need to understand the facts, the figures, the statistics, and the data. The media literacy, of course, they need to understand the methods, the outlets in which their information is published. And of course, the technology literacy, they need to understand the machines that make the information age possible. And of course, the life skills, flexibility, deviating from plans as needed, the leadership, motivating them as a team to accomplish a goal, initiative, starting projects, strategies and plans on one's own, productivity, maintaining efficiency in an age of distractions, and social skills, meeting and networking with others for mutual benefit. Design-based learning in a digital environment and student skills. Of course, this learning offers an opportunity for students to improve their learning skills, creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. This is because Learners are encouraged to do outside of the box thinking, generating innovative solutions to problems, and work with their classmates. DBL in a digital environment allows them to develop their literacy skills. Together, the students' experience of the pedagogy and the learning milieu contribute to the enhancement of their life skills. Collaboration and power in diversity. Of course, collaboration will be practiced throughout because of the project-based learning and design thinking. Plenty of studies suggest that collaboration is advantageous effect has an advantage effect of group work in learning. It helps them to become responsible. Students also gain insights about different things from their classmates. According to EduFlow, the benefits of collaborative learning are the following: improve knowledge retention, develop a higher order thinking skills or what we call HATS. Also, the stronger ownership over assignments, and of course, the higher course completion rates. Diverse perspective and diverse solutions. Learners are naturally different. There's always something one student knows that the others don't. So collectively, the group has various perspective on things, engendering diverse solution to problems, which is important in innovation. But we teacher, we have the strike the balance between the cumulative potential and the size of the group. In a digital environment, a group with 4 or 5 members is favorable. Digital collaborative tools. Have you wondered why, despite the continuous explosion of digital tools, we probably use just fewer than 10? Of course, another question is, what are the digital tools that you have been using for remote teaching? And another question is, why do you prefer using the other similar apps and programs? Are you there still a lot that you haven't tried out? Remember, we teachers, we educators, we are innovators. Therefore, we will seek another feature for learning. We will innovate ways for the quality of education. The role of digital collaborative tools, of course, collaborative learning has been well embraced in STEM education for many years. New technologies can free up for us teachers and deliver more collaborative learning and personalized activities to STEM students. Embedding digital tools into STEM teaching creates more authentic learning and assessments and can change classroom culture to students feel empowered to develop new ideas. Digital learning and digital assessments go hand in hand with this collaborative tools, digital collaborative tools. And they can think a lot of the digital tools with, between learning and assessment. Now, what are the criteria when we perform a digital tool selection appropriate for our class? Remember, should be free because learners don't have some access. And another is well designed. Another, it can be accessed in any device. It can be in computer, desktop, laptop, tablet, or mobile phones. Can be trusted. Like for example, some websites. Another is user friendly, easy to manage, easy to access, sustainable, and of course, already used by most, if not by all. Some collaborative discussion brainstorming. We are all familiar with this. Zoom. Zoom is a secure, reliable video platform powers us for all communication needs, including meetings, chat phones, webinars, and online events. Of course, we teachers use this for teaching since Zoom can be also used in face-to-face classroom. But before we jump into learning ins and outs of the Zoom, consider what teaching methods you are already using and see if Zoom can help facilitate those same methods during the face-to-face. And in an and in an online synchronous classes. Do you typically lecture using PowerPoint slides? Well then, Zoom is an appropriate tool for learning. You can also use polling. Learners can vote. They can give their feedbacks through multiple choice questions. Speeds up, slow down. Encourage your learners to make use of the lecture. You can also ask them by means of thumbs up or thumbs down. Sometimes if those are tools or the features of Zoom, and also the most famous feature of Zoom is the breakout room. So it's a nice tool for a digital tool for learning. Another tool is Padlet, an acceptable asynchronous. When we say asynchronous, the learners can perform it on the other day or the other session that they want, that they are free. It's an acceptable synchronous collaborative discussion platform and an excellent brainstorming workspace. Actually, Padlet is a digital tool that can help teachers and students in class and beyond by offering a single place for a notice board. And Padlet is a new technological tool that works like a corkboard by facilitating students to post notes in a common place. It also allows students to share notes with others in the form of link, images, videos, and different documents. If you're a student and hunting for a latest technology or a teacher, Padlet is one of the online collaborative tool that I can advise or suggest. And also, it brings creativity for all learners. Also, class participation, we can also put some class updates. Me, on my teaching learning process, I always use Padlet as a tool for learning, especially for some learners who cannot go along with synchronous classes. We also have the Google Docs. It's a good for joint workout on building textual content. And of course, Google Docs can also help students and teachers streamline homework assignments and class projects. The sharing features allow we teachers to provide group access to the same document. And of course, it's very a popular technology with the teachers and students because it's free. And of course, it has an online word processor, spreadsheet, and presentation. So all in. Another is the Mentimeter. I know you're very familiar with Mentimeter because it can be used to create fun and interactive presentations. And Mentimeters enables us to engage with students using live polls, word clouds, quizzes, multiple choice questions, and more. We can also track learning and understanding by asking questions and downloading the results. Communicate and interact with our students. Mentimeter is a presentation tool that uses quizzes, polls, and word clouds to help engage students better in education. Also, it combines the digital tools for quizzes, polls, and word clouds. And essentially, this is a super powerful presentation tool for teachers. This platform is more about presentation, so it's less quiz focused than the likes of like for Kahoot or Quizlet, which are all about a little else. The system is easy for us to build some presentations. And of course, Mentimeter is a presentation tool that is designed to work digitally live. Unlike in a PowerPoint presentation, this tool allows teachers to interact with the students in a real time, take a poll, present a quiz, and more. Mentimeter is designed for use beyond the classroom. There's a lot of support for this and making this a very well-made platform that getting constant updates from all its various users. This tool can be used via web browser or you can also access from nearly any device. It's very adaptive, is user friendly, and Mentimeter best tips that I can suggest and tricks You test the skills first as a teacher. Then, of course, brainstorm. Use the word cloud feature to brainstorm. Let the student lead. Have students use Mentimeter to create presentations that get the class interactive. Then spin off more presentations using the reactions of our students. Then we have the collaborative annotation. Collaborative annotation is a literacy strategy that engages learners or students in critical reading, critical thinking, writing, and collaboration of all in one activity. In STEM education, collaborative video annotation, collaboration with digital tools, we can use that as a strategy since it is an effective on developing STEM students understanding a reflective thinking component. Furthermore, this collaborative annotation is considered to be effective on developing the habitual action and understanding of low performing STEM students. And of course, this collaborative annotation designed for this, let's factor in with ease of use and the student's familiarity on the digital tool of choice. In the interest of these elements, they can also use PDF. All right, that's the end of my presentation, and these are my references for this. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your marvelous presentation and very informative information sharing with our participants. Thank you very much, sir. Sir,
Thank you
we
so
will come
much.
back. Sir, we will come back together in our question and answer session again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear participants, we have proceed to our quiz competition session. After a short video clips, we come back together again in our quiz competition. For participating our quiz competition, you have to go to www.slido.com and the quiz code is quizigp. The code is quizigp. Also, the link given in our comment box. You can also scan our site from our scanner. We will pick your name from our Slido, so join with your full name, which is directly printed in our certificate. Top 10 participants will be awarded quiz certificate. 21 participants already joined with us. One of the participants asks, how can we claim our certificate of participants in this webinar? After our question and answer session, we gave certification code. Then you claim your certificate from our website. Our website is eduigp.com. We start our quiz competition now. Let's start. Our first question is this facilitates the improvement of existing prototype, emphasis or annotation. 25% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is annotation. On the leaderboard, Junal Miranda now leading the first position. Our next question is this can be used to create fun and interactive presentation. Zoom or Mentimeter. 20-meter is the right answer, and 71% of our participants gave the right answer. On the leaderboard now, lesson reading the first position. Our next question is understanding the machine that makes the information is possible. Technology literacy or media literacy. 89% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is technology literacy. On the leaderboard, again, lesson leading the first position. Our next question is meeting and networking with others for mutual benefit. Is social skills or initiative? 96% of our participants gave the right answer, and the answer is social skills. Our next question is the higher the fidelity of the prototype is, the closer the design is to the final product. Is it true or false? 100% of our participants gave the right answer, and the answer is true. Our next question is a prototype is the earliest observable expression of a design intent. Is it true or false? 96% of our participants gave the right answer, and the answer is true. Our next question is the more perspective you examine, the less solution are generated. Is it true or false? 71% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is false. Our next question is: innovation can be applied to products, service, and processes. Is it true or false? 100% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is right, true. Our next question is: dash is the earliest observable expression of a design intent, project, or prototype. 96% of our participants gave the right answer, and the answer is prototype. Our last and final question is: this is good for joint work on building textual content, particularly when each member starts to write a specific section of a report, Mentimeter, or Google Documents. 9% of our participants gave the right answer, and the answer is Google Documents. Congratulations of our top 10 participants. Top 10 participants will be awarded our quiz competition certificate. You can claim your certificate from our Facebook page. You can claim your quiz certificate from our Facebook page. Thank you all for participating our quiz competition. Now we proceed to our question and answer session. Welcome back, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you,
Hello,
sir.
sir. Are you ready to answer the question?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, it's question and answer session time. You can send your question to our comment box. Make sure to put it one by one so that our speaker understand it well. Sir, we're waiting for our first question. Sir, our first question from Emily. What challenges encountered by the teachers applying design thinking in distance learning? And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ma'am Evelyn, for that question. Actually, in the Philippines, we are encountering a lot of challenges in applying the design teaching in distance learning because the modality that we are using as of now is modular and some are digital or online classes. In online classes, the application or the applying of design thinking is smooth, but it's more smoother than the face-to-face learning. Another challenge that we are encountering is the retention of our learners in design thinking because in design thinking, they need to experience in real time situation, real time scenario. So since we are applying the digital modality or the distance learning, some of our learners can experience the 100% experience of the design thinking. In our STEM learners in our school, in our senior high school, we are achieving at least 75% of our learners in learning the in applying the design thinking. And we can also see the result on their outputs because during our synchronous classes we can see their outputs, we can also see their collaborations. They can still make their own way on how they will collaborate with each other and perform their outputs or their projects. So as a teacher, one of the barriers also is the communication that we can establish to our learners. It's so hard for as a teacher, for our teachers to communicate with them because some of our learners as of now are experiencing with lack of gadgets, lack of devices, lack of internet connectivity. But we are doing some alternatives. Like for example, sending them some demo demo videos, demo teachings that we have presented to our synchronous classes. And it helps a lot. It also helps them to go along with the flow of our education as of now. And of course, there's another challenge on the patience that we can apply to our learners because some of our learners are always repeating the questions. They're always asking the same questions. So, as a teacher, as an educator, we should have a long patience in answering those questions because those questions is a sign that those learners are interested. They are curious on what they are learning or what they are doing. So that's it. Thank you, Ma'am Evelyn.
Thank you, sir, for your comprehensive answer. Our next question is, good afternoon, sir. Can you cite some tools or apps or strategies that can help teacher to do a project management practice?
All right. Thank you, sir. I think, Sir Jomer, one of the best tools that I can suggest for, or let's proceed first with the tool. The tool that can we, digital tool that can be used for project management practice for our learners is the use of YouTube videos or the videos that we can record for our learners. Another is the use of Padlet, wherein there is interaction, online interaction for our learners. And of course, we have a lot of tools. Like for example, the Flipgrid, if you're familiar with the Flipgrid, it's almost the same with Padlet. Also, we can have the Wakelet as a website for learning, wherein we can see the outputs of our learners in terms of their projects, and of course in terms of the strategies for implementing the project management. We have the flip classroom strategy, wherein during the synchronous classes, the flip classroom, we're giving all the important concepts. We are giving different the different terminologies, the different steps, and out of that, we will ask them what's the topic all about. We are reversing the process, and at the end of the session, they will just realize that they are doing the project at the same time because they are well guided at the start of the session. That's one of the best strategies that I can share or suggest in doing the project management practice. And of course, the the role of a teacher is to explore new strategies, also new tools and apps for implementing the project management practice. We all know that the project management strategy is a hard strategy to implement as of now during the pandemic, during a distance learning. But we can still create some innovations for this. And as a teacher, as an educator, we will not stop on what we have. We will continue to learn and create more strategies. We will innovate more strategies because we want to learn. We want our learners to learn more from us. Thank you, Sir Jomer.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, we are still waiting for our next question. Thank you, sir. Maybe we have no more question.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Thank you, IGP.
Thank you, sir. I think this session will be effective for our audience because you share your intelligent knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. Sir, what is your last word for our audience? Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we'll meet together in another session in IGP. Thank you.
All right, sir. I'm hoping that I can share more with my other colleagues, with all teachers and professionals around the world, with the help of Institute of Global Professionals (IGP). Thank you so much for this experience and allowing me to share my content regarding my topic. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Dear knowledge speaker, I would like to thank you all from my deep heart for attending today's session. I hope you learned something new and you will implement it in your life. Please give a review on our page if you learn something and don't forget to collect your certificate. Yeah, we hope to see you all again in our next webinar. Today program name is STEAM Education Training for Teacher and the code is IGP 4876. For some of our new participants, ask how to claim the certificate for claim your certificate, you have to go to our website and then you claim your certificate. Our website name is eduizp.com. For quiz completion certificate, you have to go to our Facebook page, then you can download the certificate. Thank you all for attending this session.